Well, hi everybody. It's Portia from Boss Mom Blog, and I'm really excited to introduce you to a friend and colleague of mine, Bill Gentry.
Hi everybody.
He is a senior research scientist at the Center for Creative Leadership. And today we are here to talk about a topic that really is a struggle for a lot of professionals, and that is political savviness.
Yes, that's true.
So, first of all, I also want to let you know that you can follow the words, wisdom, and wit of Bill over at Twitter at lead_better. So make sure that you follow Bill, because not only has he a wealth of information about leadership, but also he's incredibly funny and insightful. Okay, so let's just kind of jump right into it, Bill.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, so first of all, what is political savviness? A lot of people think about it as something that's bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what it is?
I think even before we talk about political savvy,
Yeah.
let's talk about what politics is in the first place.
Okay,
I think
good.
That's
Good place
where
to start. Good place
probably,
to start.
Is where it gets a pretty bad
Okay.
rap. When we think about politics, it's usually self-serving intentions. It's
Yeah.
bullying. It's my way or the highway. It's I
Definitely.
win and you lose. Those are the things, and that's why it gets a bad rap. And that's why so many people feel like they don't want to play the game. And what we try at CCL and others around the field, when we talk about having political savvy, the first thing we try to do is change the mindset of people.
Okay. How do you do that?
Politics should not be seen as good or bad. It's just the air that you breathe in organizations. Every one of us have our own opinions and options and things that we want. So in order to survive in that sort of environment, that's why you need what we call political savvy, political skill, however you want to call it. And those who have political skill, kind of the definition around it is the ability to understand others. So you got to know yourself.
Okay.
You got to know who you're dealing with. You got to read the environment really well. And you got to use all of that knowledge in order to obtain the goals that you want. And those could be personal goals. Those could be organizational goals as well. So if you go at it from that way, it's really not about it's I win and you lose. It's not about I'm going to bully you to do things. It's really about what's my perspective, what's your perspective, how can we work together to find the best option possible?
So when you say it like that, it doesn't feel quite so bad. I mean, I don't know if you're a fan of House of Cards. I am, but we think of political savviness as someone who's definitely, they're going in for the kill, they're out for themselves, and this is a really interesting reframe just to think of it as something that exists in the organization that we work in.
Yeah, one of the kind of the jokes that's out there, if you think of the word politics, and this is from Jerry Ferris and one of my mentors, Dave Gilmore. Jerry Ferris is one of the kind of the fathers of political skill in the academic realm. In an article, they said if you think of the word politics, poly is Latin from many, and ticks is a blood-sucking insect.
See, I told you he was funny.
So if you put those two together, that's what politics is. But if you really reframe it in terms of organizations, it's we all have our own agendas. So how can I be clear about what my agenda is? How can I be clear about what your agenda is? And how can we come to a common meaning together in order to get things done so we can all win? It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game where it's I win and you lose. We can all win and do stuff together.
So got it. So what are some of the common mistakes that leaders make when they're, trying to be politically savvy, but maybe failing miserably at it?
Yeah. One of the things that Jerry has also said is those who have political savvy, you don't even know they have it. It is just an integral part of who they are. And there are 4 different aspects of political savvy. We at CCL have written a guidebook on developing political savvy. Jean Leslie, who's a great friend and colleague here at the center, who's a senior fellow here as well. She and I have written this, and it's a great kind of toolkit for people to read and to understand. So there's 4 different kind of aspects of political savvy, political skill. First one is interpersonal influence. You've got to be able to influence people in all sorts of different ways. So
important, right?
Yes.
In this whole concept of influence.
So for so many of us, it's we tend to influence others the way we like to be influenced. I talk this all the time when I deal with people who are managing for the first time, making that transition, which is where I'm really concentrating my research efforts on. They are so used to influencing others the way they like to be influenced because it's the most natural and normal thing for them to do. So if I like to be influenced by data, facts, and figures, that's the only way that I know how to influence you. And if data, facts, and figures connects with you, that's great. But if what's really going to connect with you is how's this going to matter to me and my team and my values, whatever sort of influence attempts I want to do, it's not going to be useful at all. So I've got to be able to have a range of influence attempts. So you got to be able to influence people well and know different ways to influence. Second thing, you've got to be aware of what's going on. Kind of a social astuteness is what the researchers call it. It's aware of who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and can you read the environment? Okay, so influence well, read the environment, know yourself, know other people. The third thing, have really great networks.
So key.
Yep. You've got to be able to build relationships, know people who know people, have a very strong network of people who, because in the formal networking and the formal organizational hierarchy, you know who's the leader and you know who's not.
Right.
There's informal networks out there where a person might not be a formal leader, but they have a lot of power because of their knowledge or because of the relationships that they have.
That's right. People forget about that, that it's not just about who's at the top of the org chart, but the reality is that there are people influential up and down and across the organization. It's really important to understand who those people are.
That's right. So building those networks are great. And it's not about schmoozing. It's not about trying to, it's really about building your own network of people that you know and being part of their networks as well. So we've talked about reading others, knowing yourself and reading others. We've talked about the ability to influence people in all sorts of different ways, networking, and then finally, and I think this is probably just as important as the other three, if not more important, is the sincerity behind your actions. It's the authenticity, sincerity, character, and integrity.
We forget that, don't we, oftentimes?
We do. I tell people you can see a snake in the grass from a mile away.
So true.
You can say one thing and do the complete opposite. You can say that you're in it, but then your actions tell people that you're in it for selfish reasons, not for the entire group. So you've got to be able to have the sincerity, authenticity, genuineness, character, integrity behind everything that you do. So those are the four aspects: knowing yourself, reading others, the ability to influence other people in many different ways, networking, and then that sincerity and authenticity, character, that's got to be part of it as well.
But that all seems very doable. So why do we make it so hard?
I think it's that whole perception of I don't want to play the game. Politics sounds awful.
It does.
I don't want to be part of it. So one of the things that we say in the guidebook, one of the things that we tell people in our programs, think about politics as something that's the natural, normal way. It's the air that you breathe in organizations. If you come at it from that aspect, there's no self-serving intentions. There's no bullying around things. It's really about what's your agenda, what's my agenda. Let's be clear and out front. Let's be transparent about things. There are so many things that happen in organizations bad when there is no communication, when there's no transparency. And if you come at it, and those with political savvy, they are transparent, they communicate well, you know what their agenda is, and they can read other people what their agenda is and use all that knowledge to come to a common understanding and achieve their goals.
So does political savviness basically boil down to interpersonal skills? Is that kind of what we're talking about, really sharp interpersonal skills, or am I understating it?
It is part of it. It is, so there are a lot of interpersonal skills behind it. One of the research that Jerry and others have done out there, they've actually shown that in terms of effectiveness, political skill was a better predictor of effectiveness than even emotional intelligence.
Wow.
So it's something that is different.
That's really important.
The research that we've done here, those who are more promotable in their job, they have political skill. So if I feel like I have political skill, my boss is going to see me as more promotable, my peers are going to see me as more promotable, my direct reports are going to see me as more promotable. So it is definitely related to the ability to be promotable in the job, to do your job effectively now, and to be successful later as you move up in the organization.
I think that it's so interesting, and I'm wondering, does political skill impact judgment at all, do you think?
One of the things that we've talked about at CCL since the 80s with breaking the glass ceiling, perception is reality. It might not be the truth, but it is the way people get promoted. So if you are able to convey that sort of kind of perception about who you are, I mean, who doesn't want to be around somebody who has integrity and character, who wants to influence you the way you want to be influenced, who can definitely read the environment and has strong networks? Those are people that you want to be around.
So I guess a couple of last questions, Bill. Gender differences. Are there any in terms of how women wield political savviness versus men?
Yeah, I think that's another myth that is out there.
Okay.
So many people think that because women haven't typically don't make it to the tops of organizations, they lack political savvy or whatever. Completely false. The research that we've done here, men and women equally high in political savvy. If women think they're excellent political savvy, so do men, and vice versa as well. So there are no gender differences in terms of the way that each gender, male or female, think that they have political savvy. I think one of the misperceptions out there, and one of the things that can actually help women, in fact, political savvy may be able to help women more to be more effective at work and to be more promotable. So it helps both men and women, but I think for women it could be even extremely more positive for them in their work to be able to have those political savvy aspects to their reputation and the way that they do things at work.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So Bill, I know you spend a lot of time coaching, training, researching first-time managers. This is clearly an issue, not just for first-time managers, though, for experienced managers. But if you could recommend sort of 3 things that the average person, the average professional could do to improve their political savviness, what would they be?
Yeah. I think the first thing, definitely change your attitude about what politics is.
Okay.
It's not
You hear that?
bad.
Change your attitude.
It's not bad. It's not good. It's just neutral. It's just the way things are. So if you think at it from that aspect, you're going to be on a better road towards how you deal with people and organizations. I think the second thing is to really think about those 4 aspects. So I guess there's 5 things you should do. Change your way about thinking about politics, and then practice and enhance those 4 different aspects. So for instance, influence, the way to influence people. Read up, find out how to influence people, know what other people want. Again, if they want to be influenced by data, facts, and figures,
use that methodology.
Use that. Amend your message and communicate it to that way. Be able to read the environment, that second part. Know who you are. Know your personality, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know the needs that you have yourself. One of the things that we when we train programs at CCL, the best way to know other people is to know yourself. The best way to know yourself is to know other people. So be able to do that. Build those networks. Don't think of it as smooching. Don't think of it as selling out. Think of it as the way to build the networks and know people, because not only are you building networks to help you, you're building networks to help them as well. And then I think the final thing too, really think about the integrity, the character that you have in everything that you do. That is going to be
that's the basis.
Yeah.
That's the sort of the foundation.
I really do.
That
I really think it is. Yep.
So I have one bonus question before I let you go, which is, if you thought about a celebrity or a public figure who is incredibly like a great role model of political savviness, who would that be?
Yeah. So historically, it's Lyndon Johnson. I mean, that former president of the United States, and he bartered all sorts of different things, especially when he was in Congress. Okay. So that's one. Another one that really hit home to me recently. Senator Howard Baker, who recently just passed away a couple months ago. He actually went to my high school in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Really?
So we're both brothers and alums, I guess. But his nickname was the Great Conciliator. He was also a Republican senator from Tennessee. He was actually on the Watergate committee, and he was the one who asked, what did the president know and when did he know it? Your leader in trouble, Watergate, and he's asking those questions.
Wow.
He worked both sides of the aisle, Democrat or Republican, much different, I think, than what it is
Completely
now.
different than what it is today.
And he went through conciliation. It's not about, I got to win and you got to lose. It's about how can we not only compromise, but how can we collaborate and do things together so we're both bought in. He was great at doing those things, working both sides of the aisle, saying, this is my perspective and my agenda. What's your perspective? What's your agenda? Okay, now that we know that, let's get together and let's just not compromise on something, but let's really collaborate on things. And then if you want to go one step further, if Senator Baker was known as the Great Conciliator, think of what Mandela was. He was a reconciliator.
Oh, a great example.
He had all the power in the world to do everything he could to punish all the people who punished him and everybody else of his race. But he didn't, because he saw that something else greater needed to be done.
That's right, and he looked and he found the win-win too for South Africa.
He did.
So great example. So Bill, I'm so grateful for you to come and sit down and talk with me today. Can I have you back?
Yes, you can. We got all sorts of different stuff that we're doing at CCL right now in terms of research and the work that we're doing that can really help managers, women and men out there in the field.
Super. I'm going to definitely have you back. Please make sure you follow Bill on Twitter at lead_better. And also I'm going to, at the end of the post here, give you a link to Developing Political Savvy. This is the guidebook here that Bill was talking about, and you can find out where to get it. It's a quick read. It has lots of really great actionable things that you can do and take back to work. So pick it up and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Okay, thank you so much.